Right. And I mean, Dre Greenlaw is signed through next season, I believe. So he's going to be looking for an extension. And, he might be thinking of, big money because of, he hasn't had that big contract yet because of, where he was drafted. But, if
And
they could bring Aziz back, that would be some good insurance that if for
do you
some
think they
reason
could get a first for Greenlaw?
Um, not coming off of the injury, I don't think so. But it'd be interesting how they tender Aziz, because if they tender Aziz with like a second, that might be something that somebody that is maybe a little cap strapped or is has some extra seconds. There's some weird there's some teams that just have a lot of picks, so a second or a third, I don't know. And then I mean, who would the 49ers rather have, Aziz or Greenlaw? I think, the default would be Greenlaw, but maybe there's people that think Aziz has more upside than Greenlaw or vice versa. I don't know. I don't know enough about that position to really make a decision, but it seems like if you could bring both back, that would be ideal.
Yeah, no, you would want to, but I mean, like when you've got that much talent there, it's almost it's a strategic play sometimes to use one as draft capital. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And it seems like there's certain positions that the 49ers do really well in developing. Linebacker
Yeah,
is one of them. Obviously, running back's another one. So, I mean, and, defensive line seems to be another one. So, those three positions, it seems like you may be able to buy low, sell high, just because the coaching staff and, the philosophy that the 49ers play with seem to just get gems there. So, guys that you're buying at a low, Mitchell at the 6th-round draft pick, Aziz, I forget what he was drafted as. All those guys on the defensive line.
yeah.
So it seems like, if you can buy low, sell high, might as well, because, you could probably
Because
develop somebody else,
so
pretty
there's a
quickly.
lot of cornerbacks in the draft I hear with a lot of talent. So if you could flip Aziz into a first round cornerback, you know what I mean? And then use your second round on, your interior offensive lineman, however you want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's there's
Kim
things
just
that
said Aziz is an undrafted free agent. So, that would be golden. I mean, any kind of draft capital you get out of him is an upgrade, right? That's just, you go from somebody who wasn't drafted at all to getting a second, third round pick. That's going to be key.
and try and find a gem in the fourth, fifth, or the sixth round. You know what I mean? To replace
Right.
them and start, But yeah, I'm a fan of finding what works on your team and exploiting that to getting yourself more draft capital from it. That I think any smart team would go out and try and pay for the best coach that is best at taking any player and molding them into a real player and fitting in a scheme, because then you could take anybody and turn them into something and then trade them for something more,
Right.
so big
Yeah,
fan of
and
that. I wish.
you gotta play to your strengths. So like we said, there's specific positions that the 49ers do really well in drafting or developing, I should say. And linebacker is obviously one of them,
Yeah,
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wasn't thinking about that moving forward, but based off of what you've been saying, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I mean, I think that would be a route that I would go, especially since draft capital is something that the 49ers do need, as far, without 2 first round picks the next couple seasons.
it'd be a way to really top them up, and make them, that much more deadlier in those places where they were lacking.
I don't think that they'd be able to get a first for him though, but maybe a second, maybe a low second or a high third. I think they could maybe pull something off with that.
Or you know what? The 49ers they should only take, like your sixth, your fifths, your sixth, and your sevenths for the next 3 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because that's
I mean, the way they do drafting at those positions, definitely
yeah,
you could get some really good talent there, but but you need to where there are weaknesses in where the 49ers draft, one being offensive line, right? They're not very good at drafting offensive linemen, at least this regime. And, so
Not to mention the first 3 rounds.
right. Now, I mean, I would disagree. I think the first 3 rounds they've done pretty well, but just as far as like offensive line, cornerback, there's places where they haven't hit as much as they'd like to, but in lower rounds with running back, linebacker, you know, defensive line, they're able to develop there. So might as well, compensate for where you're weak at, which is corner, offensive line, drafting those types of positions. Just play what's it called? Just play throw stuff against the wall and hope it sticks. Like how like Belichick does with New England. He just gets a whole bunch of picks, drafts a whole bunch of players, and hopes somebody like turns out to be a stud. So I think that would be ideal. Is second, the higher rounds try to hit on just premier talent, and then lower rounds where you really are skillful, get those steals in running back, linebacker, defensive line, etc.
Gotcha.